Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today we have a very special review impressions of a knife that was loaned to me by a channel member. I sure appreciate Steve out there. Thank you so much for this. This is the Brown Knives Cortex XL. What a crazy knife. Let's take a look at this. All right, so today we're looking at the Brown Knives Cortex. And I'm being very careful to say Brown Knives. I know it's not Brian Brown. So I know some of you guys, I think I misspoke in my unboxing. I said it one time real quick and I got caught on it. So I know this is not Brian Brown. I get it. This is Brown Knives. Now I don't know his actual name, but I know he's a incredible designer and he's got like the mini FSD, the FSD, and some, this is the Cortex, and then there's the Cortex XL. I really, really like this Cortex XL. This is really cool. And this particular one has an incredibly beautiful milling pattern. Simply gorgeous, absolutely stunning knife here. I very, very much appreciate the opportunity to check this one out. So yeah, all right, so the designer is Brown Knives, the gentleman who found it and did Brown Knives. I should probably know the guy. It'll probably be up here. Let's see, is it on his card? I know there's a little card in here. Does he say it on there? Just says Brown Knives, that's all it says, yeah. Yeah, it does. It doesn't really say his name, so I'm not very good with names, so you know, there you go. I'll try to remember to post it up here if I recall. If not, it'll be hopefully in the description or at least a link to it. But this particular one is the Brown Knives Cortex XL. Beautiful. I would call this a custom knife. Some people say, it's mid-tech. It's, you know, I call it custom when you got one guy who's working on this, who's designing, who does everything on this thing. I get it. Even if he uses CNC machines, I consider this a custom, right? Some people will call it mid-tech. Fine. Feel free to leave it as a mid-tech. You believe it's a mid-tech, I respect that. I'm going to call this a custom, right? Because this is more hands-on than anything. This is not just a production knife that runs through a production manufacturing machine. Someone's got a particular spec, they run it, boom, they go, and it just comes out because somebody does, you know, follows the spec, and there's a whole bunch of people in a manufacturing facility that, you know, that just produces tons and tons and hundreds, if not thousands of these out. No, no. These are each numbered, and every time someone buys this on his website that literally has a historical version. I believe this number is, I don't remember what the version of this one was. The number and all that stuff is on the inside here. I think his particular one was I don't know if it's 123 or something like that. I don't know. But this particular knife is really phenomenal. It is, his hands are all over this thing, right? He makes sure the scales, the milling, everything is perfect. It's beautifully centered. It's tuned to perfection. It works in a way that he expects and works in a way that he's proud. It is, you can feel it. You can feel it. You can, just everything about it just screams quality. So the knife name is the Cortex XL. The designer is Brown Knives. The manufacturer is Brown Knives, made in the USA. This is a small shop where he does his work, right? The handle, titanium, beautifully milled, CNC'd. Even this clip right here, CNC'd, and it is flat underneath, so it's nice in and out of the pocket. Hidden hardware on the inside. You've got a captive pivot over here with his little Brown Knives logo, and then over here it's beautifully rounded. You've got this incredibly functional front top flipper that works just really nice right out of the bat, and works really nice like that. I think it's just phenomenal. Beautifully centered, absolutely. Handle to blade ratio is great. There's no lanyard loop or clip, so you know, there you go. I know if that's a big deal for you, I'm sorry. It is right hand tip up only. At this rate and as fast as they move and as much as he's producing them, there is not a benefit in suddenly running a left-handed version, right? Because that's a small percentage of the population, and when it comes to customized, even then I find that they don't necessarily mean, you know, you are going to have 10% of the sales, right? From what I gather, of the 10% of the population who are left-handed, even if you make left-handed stuff, it's still only maybe 1% of the sales or 3% or something like that. I've heard different things. But beautiful knife as far as this is concerned. This particular one is Magnacut, hollow grind, beautifully satin finished. Wonderful, wonderful fuller right here. Absolutely great. Jimping is very functional. It's not super functional. It's a little light and soft, but that's okay because it works if you want a little something not to just slide off of, but it's not meant for heavy duty stuff. So Again, this is an expensive knife, right? It's not a cheap knife, so you're not going to go out and be cutting woods and logs and stuff with this knife. I mean, unless it's like life or death and you're trying to save your life, it's a different story. I mean, you're going to use the tool that you have at hand to save your life, right? That's different, right? Every tool then becomes a life or death tool, and you don't really care the cost and the value if it's going to mean that you'll come out alive, right? At that point, you know the point of it is to survive, right? And that's kind of the whole idea. I think it would still do quite well in that regard because it's just manufactured really well and it locks up solidly. So yeah, this does have a liner lock. I don't know what you call this, an inset liner lock, because it sure looks like it to me, but the way it engages the tang of the blade, if you can see, there's part of the blade right here, and here, this part of the blade right here is this little section in here, and it engages the tang right in there, and this is the flipper right here, which is not a super pokey top flipper. It works really well to come up here, and it stops just short of here, but then this engages, this lock bar goes in, engages the tang right there, and it's got a good 20% lockup, nice and solid, no blade play, no pivot lash, and let's listen to that detent, nice and clickety. One more time. Any detent lash? Nope, it's in there nice and solid. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's in there solid. Let's see. No blade play. I'm pulling it really hard because you can break the detent. Yeah. There you go. So I like that. I like that a lot. Very, very cool. Nice clip. It's very functional. It does bend, so it goes in and out of the pocket. Got a nice curve to it. Works really, really well. Beautiful, rounded, chamfered everywhere. There's nothing sharp, even here where you would have edges. You reach up, you grip, you do a squeeze test. There's nothing that's going to be burning. Nothing that's hot or sharp. And so that's nice. Nice, solid blade. It's not super crazy thick, but it is robust. It's robust enough to do its job. Comes to a beautiful, crazy thin hollow ground. So it's a slicer. It reminds me of a lot of like my Roosevelt, right? I mean, my Rosie, which has a nice thin kind of a edge. When you look at this, it's a full flat grind, but that edge is super thin, right? You can see that. So, you know, you have that on this one here, and over here you have beautiful thin edge as well. And it does come to a hollow grind, and I can feel that hollow grind right there. So that's nice, and it's super thin and slicey. So there you go. I think it's pretty phenomenal. Flips really beautifully left-handed because it is an inset liner lock, so it's very fidgety left and right-handed. Opens up really well with the thumb stud, with the thumbs right there and the fuller and the flipper. Everything is just perfect. Just really, really, really nice. I like it a lot. All right, so opening, closing, blade steel, all that stuff is really great. Let's do some measurements on this guy. Where is my scale? There we are. So there's the scale. Let's see what it is. It doesn't feel super heavy, but it doesn't feel super light. It's a pretty big knife, right? It's just the XL. 3.7 ounces, so that's not super heavy, but it's not super, super light. It's not like, what was it? There was another knife that I had that was super crazy light. I forget which one that was. Oh, what was it? The one that was super, 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 super crazy light. Can't remember now. Sorry. All right, so let's look at the overall length on this thing here. I think it's right at 8 inches, I'm pretty sure. So from tip to here, right at 8 inches. Yeah, I would say if I go from the very tip right there, yeah, I would say it's like 7.99 or 7.98 inches. If it's just a hair shy of 8. All right, so let's look at the overall handle length. We're looking at 4 inches, about right there. If you do choke up, which works really well, you have about 4 3/4 of an inch. So if you have large hands, like I said, we already talked about this. I have large hands with meaty fingers. So extra large hands with regular size fingers, double extra large hands with smaller fingers, and then you choke up, you've got a lot of room for double extra large, triple extra large hands for sure, even with meaty fingers. All right, overall blade length, going from the tip to the back, about just slight of 3.5 inches, just hair short. Overall cutting length, we're looking at about 3 1/8 of an inch, or maybe 3 1/16 of an inch. That is the overall cutting length of the blade. All right, so let's look at the blade stock thickness of this particular knife. My Mitu Toyo calibers made in China. Made in Japan. These are highly calibrated. These are machine grade calibers. 120 thousandths of an inch. So it's 120 thousandths of an inch, and I bet it stays pretty consistent. Yeah, 120 thousandths of an inch as far as the blade stock thickness. So it is not super thin, but it's not super thick. It's not like a Rick Hinder or Spartan Blades or Medford. It's certainly a nice grind, but with that hollow grind comes down to a nice thin edge. So I think that's great. So is this a budget knife, regular knife, or high-end knife? Absolutely not. No. Zero. Zip zilch. Is it a custom mid-tech? Yes. Is it over $600? Oh, you bet you. You bet you. Last, for basic version, if you get in this lottery and you win it, is $850. That's what it was last that I saw. And that's not anything extras, any anodization, any extra special milling pattern, any shipping, anything like that. It's just $850 basic price. If you get in the secondary market, you're looking at probably $900, $1,100. I've seen, you know, all depends on the milling and the knife. So there you go. I think $850 to $1,000 is what you're looking at for this knife, and that's not including the ones that maybe have. Sometimes he makes versions where he has inlays. He'll have Timascus or fat carbon. That all adds up. That's extra. And you start doing anodizations on these things, that adds up as well, right? So those are all different costs. But at $850, it's definitely a mid-tech version. Is it an EDC hard use and collection piece? Absolutely collection piece. For most people, this is a safe queen. For most of us who like to have knives like this, we would actually carry this. Now, does that mean if I had a knife like this, I would go out and I'd chop wood and do? No. I'd cut maybe some cases of water. I might cut some letters open. I might cut a box open. I'm not going to go out and do crazy stuff. I may not even cut cardboard. I may use a different knife for that altogether, right? Because sometimes cardboard can be pretty gritty. It has sometimes has a little bit of rock in there, has some chalk and some different things in there that gives it a kind of a consistency, so it can scratch your blade if you don't. Now, if you're okay with a workhorse knife, then there you go. Now, this seems to be a little nicer, so if I had this knife and I was carrying it, I'd usually carry a 5th pocket knife, like a slip joint or another smaller knife that I could use and abuse if I wouldn't worry about it, right? But I would definitely carry it because I would enjoy carrying a knife like this. This is the reason why I get a knife, is to enjoy them. And so for me, it would be definitely a carry piece. Some people, it's just sits in their collection, and that's fine too. That's your knife, your collection. You do with your knives what you do. You're allowed to enjoy your knives as you choose, whether you want it to be a safe queen, you want it to be in a case you just pull out and you just flick open whenever you want. If you carry it, fine. If you use and abuse it, that's also your prerogative, right? So at this price, I would be highly surprised if someone abused and used it, you know, like that. But I mean, I guess you could. What's the purpose? EDC hard use? I think so. I mean, you absolutely could do EDC, and you could hard use. It is Magnacut. It is well made. It is tough steel. It is corrosion resistant. It would do well. It really would. As a thinner steel and a harder and more, as a tougher steel, with being thinner, it's definitely made for that type of work. It definitely will work well in that regard. So I think, yeah, it could be a hard use. Now, will it work like a fixed blade or an axe? No, no. If you try to start to pry things, and you want to cut wood and blocks and chop wood and logs and stuff, any knife is going to be damaged. Use the right tool for the right thing, right? I mean, unless you're in a life or death situation, I would use a fixed blade or an axe for that, right? Obviously, but if you needed it, I mean, I think it could probably surprise you. It looks like it would do really, really well. It is thin, so you got to be careful with that leverage and turning. You don't want to crack the blade or bend it, which probably is, you know, realistic with any thinner blade, hollow grind kind of knife. Overall design, handles, open, close, textures, jimping, the clip, the lanyard, all that stuff is amazing. The texture on here is gorgeous. The chamfering all the way around is beautiful. The clip is elegant. It's hidden hardware. Even the patterns on the clip match the pattern behind there. I mean, that just takes an extra level of care to get all those geometric shapes to work together. Do you see that? The geometric shapes, how they work together like that? That is really, that's stunning. That's I appreciate that, and that's nice. There's a little flat spot underneath, so pockets going in and out. It's not going to be dragging with the texture. I love the open and deployment methods everywhere. I love how it's easy. This is one of the more enjoyable flippers. Easy to disengage the lock right there, and then when you catch it, you've cleared the detent right here, and then it just drops beautifully, and it's just awesome. It does have a ramp, so it goes over really nicely. There's even a little cutaway here when you're flipping, so if you're coming over here, you can push down, get a little extra leverage. It does allow you to accelerate a little bit. That fuller works just so nicely. It just works so nicely. You can do low like that as well if you wanted to. You can do high up here. That's nice. I mean, you can even go way down here. It's nice. I like that. I like that a lot. To me, it's a lot of fun. Gotta get my finger in there. I'm not a lefty, so sometimes when I fail with the left hands because I can't quite get my hand in there. The jimping up here works. Sometimes it does slip and slide, but if you push down, that works really well. If you try to pull it back, that's where you might slip off. But if you push down, the physics of this works really nicely for that. So I think that's nice. All right, opening, closing, overall feel, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. So I've got the fuller that works really well. I got the top flipper that works stunningly well. And you can use it all the way up, down, left-handed, right-handed. Nothing. There's no shortness of how well that works. I'm going to give it a 4. There's only 2 deployment methods, but it's a solid 4. It's a solid 4. And it's a 4 in the sense that, you know, you don't really have the front flipper. I mean, you can sort of do that. It still doesn't work. You can do that. You can do reach from behind. It works really well. So, okay, all right. To be fair, 4.5. We'll round it up to a 5. This is a 4.5 as far as fidgety goodness. So fidget factor. The fidget factor is a 4.5. We'll round it to a 5. So 5 on the fidget factor. Now, as far as fidgety goodness, how well it works, this is a 100. This is how you execute every part of this. If you want a class, a school, a session on how should you do a flipper that's not obtrusive, easy to work, never fails, is comfortable, can be done from behind, can be done from the top, this is it. How do you do a fuller that works all the way down here and has just enough texture and grip that you can use it with a big meat of your finger, your nail, whatever you want it to do? How would you do that? This is it. This is a class. I feel like I've gone to school to learn this is what you should do, right? So excellently executed opening and closing. So the fidgety goodness on this is 100%. 100%. 100%. Yeah, I'm very confident in saying that. So I enjoy it. I really do. Is it recommended? Oh, you bet your sweet bottom dollar. It is absolutely recommended. Bet your britches, bet your whatever. Yes, absolutely recommended. You can get one of these, and it may take you to sell a whole bunch of stuff to get one. You know, I might have sold 10 or 20 knives so I can get one of these. Yeah, get it. It's that good. It is really phenomenal. It's one of those Grail knives in your collection that you probably you will keep. You know, if you have a top 5 knives, this could easily become one of your top 5 knives. My personal opinion. Now, if you have massive, huge collection and you're super wealthy, maybe not. Maybe it's just a regular old knife and not a big deal. Maybe you have to have a real fancy version of this one for it to be a collection piece. I don't know. I don't live in that realm. I don't live in that sphere. I just live in the normal sphere where this is a Grail. This is a dream knife. And sometimes, you know, you sacrifice, do things to make it happen because you have a vision on getting this, and it does mean you give up a lot of other things, and that can happen, right? And here you go. So, yeah, absolutely think that is the case. All right, so let's do a little quick zoom in so you guys can see it. Look at that beautiful blade, that wonderful, I would call this a sheep's foot, reverse Tonto, modified, Wharncliffe, whatever you want to call it. This is a Wharncliffe, sheepfoot, reverse Tonto, modified knife, whatever you want to call it. I love it. I love the blade shape. It's got a beautiful pokey tip, strong enough. It definitely can poke in, but it's very functional. Beautiful fuller right here across hollow grind. Love the pattern. It's very consistent across here. Then you've got this incredibly beautiful scale. The milling pattern on here is phenomenal. Different angles, different textures. Gives it a different reflection, almost a kind of a little lifelike. You got the typical Brown. I just did it. Brown Knives, not Brian Brown. I corrected myself. Don't comment because I said that. I said in the beginning I knew I'd probably misspeak at one time, but I know it's Brown Knives. I know that. All right. So beautiful, beautiful Brown Knives pivot there. I love the big screw. One screw here, and you come back on this side. You've got a pivot screw. So you got 2 screws to get into this guy, and that's it. Everything else is hidden. So it's really, really done well. Love the inset liner lock. I love, you know, the clip as well. You can see how it's flat underneath. Then you look inside, there is weight relief on this in certain areas, but in other areas, it's just a thin scale. And so there's not a whole lot of weight relief that's necessary, right? It's relatively light for considering it's a big, you know, solid piece of titanium. And then we're going to get over here. Here's the back part of the blade with a fuller. No build boarding. It is Magnacut. And then you can see the finger choil over here and the lockup. And this is the flipper that we saw over there. And there's the engagement on the tang. We're a good 20%, maybe 10%, 15%. I don't know, somewhere around there. But that's nicely done. So there you go. All right, so let's zoom back out. And let's look at the overall knife. Here's the overall knife with the beautiful hollow grind. You can see that little hollow grind there and the texture. I think that's just lovely. Just simply stunningly lovely. So, and let's look at the back of the knife. Again, get a nice close look up if you wanted to take a look at that. You can see that nice hollow grind, see the beautiful texture of the clip and the scale, and then the inset liner lock. I think it's just simply gorgeous. Wonderful, wonderful knife. All right, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions about the knife. If you have the knife, how are you enjoying yours? What do you think about it? You know, is it a knife that you'd keep in your collection? I mean, I see people sell them. I don't know if people bought them because they expected, you know, some miraculous expectation like this would be the knife that ends all knives. I think it'll be a stunning piece in your collection if you enjoy this caliber of knives. But if you've never been into this caliber of knives and you buy it and you never carry it and you're so afraid to carry it, may not be for you, right? You're not at that point yet where you would go around like I carry my Rosie. I have no problem carrying my Rosie. Some people would never carry this. You know, they would get one of these and that's it. That would never have this. So I have several knives in this range that I do carry and I enjoy. And that's me. I'm crazy, nuts. I don't know. But again, I'm careful when I carry. I'm not going to go out and chopping wood. So there you go. All right. I'd love to hear your comments. Hey, if you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, or entertaining, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've already hit that like button, would you please also consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel, allows the channel to produce more content, do more things, ultimately do more things for you guys. So thank you. Thank you to everyone who watches the videos, who's part of the videos, part of the live streams, who enjoys this content. I am so grateful to you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. If you haven't already, maybe hit that notification button down below so you can be notified of future content like this video. And then to all my channel members, a big, huge thank you. A big shout out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys allow me to do things way sooner than I ever thought I did because you've been so generous with the memberships. You really have. And there's so many new awesome members out there and I'm always humbled and grateful by that. And so I want to make sure I do something generous and kind back to you guys. So once a month, I do an exclusive members giveaway. And it's not just a budget knife that giveaway. I make sure it's something really nice. As you've been so generous with me, I want to be generous back appropriately. So I make sure it's something really cool. So check that out if that sounds interesting and you thought, hey, I'd like to become a channel member for the knife, let alone maybe just supporting Rob's Nerdy Knives because it's a cool channel, which I would be humbly grateful for. But please don't ever feel obligated, but I would be grateful for. There is a link, by the way, down below in the description for you can see 3 different tiers. Would be honored to have you as a member in any one of those. And then not only do we do a once a month members giveaway, I also, all brand new channel members, email me with your name and address. I'd love to mail you a channel sticker to say thank you. It's my small way to really appreciate all the new members that are joining. Thank you. And if you've been a channel member for a while and you're still a member now, or if you were a channel member before and became a channel member again and you're a channel member right now, currently an active member, and you never got a channel member sticker, but you said, hey, I'd like to get one of those stickers. Email me also with your name and address. I'd love to mail you a sticker as well to say thank you. I appreciate every one of you guys out there, both subscribers, members, people who just watch the content. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Just thank you. I appreciate every one of you. If you haven't already, maybe check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.